If reality is real, why does it never fully align with one side of our conflicts, beliefs, or identities? Human life is structured around divisions. We organize the world into right and wrong, us and them, belief and disbelief. Social life, politics, morality, and even personal identity rely heavily on choosing sides. These divisions feel necessary, even unavoidable, yet reality itself behaves very differently. Natural processes continue regardless of ideology. Physical laws do not change based on moral certainty. Psychological mechanisms operate independently of which side one believes is correct. Reality does not pause to validate positions. Before functioning, this introduces a fundamental tension. Does reality actually support sides, or do sides emerge from how the human mind organizes experience? To address this, a clear distinction must be made between ontological reality, what exists and functions, and evaluative judgment, how humans divide, label, and assess. Ibn Arabi argues that reality does not take sides because sides belong to perspective, not to being itself. Modern psychological life reveals the cost of persistent side-taking. Chronic stress, hostility, and social polarization are increasingly common. Disagreement is often experienced not as difference, but as threat. Identity becomes fused with belief, making opposition feel existential. In cognitive science, this pattern is explained through in-group and out-group bias. The brain simplifies complexity by sorting people and ideas into categories of belonging and threat. Binary cognition reduces uncertainty, but also reduces nuance. Once a side is chosen, information is filtered to protect that position. Behaviorally, this produces moral certainty, defensiveness, and resistance to complexity. Neuroscience adds another layer. When identity-defining beliefs are challenged, the amygdala becomes active, triggering threat responses similar to physical danger. Rational processing decreases as emotional reactivity increases. The core problem is structural. Humans experience reality through opposition, while reality itself operates through continuity. Ibn Arabi reframes conflict by separating reality from the mental divisions imposed upon it. Ibn Arabi is often misunderstood as a moral relativist or spiritual harmonizer. In fact, he was a metaphysician concerned with how reality discloses itself beyond human preference. His work is not an attempt to erase distinctions, but to place them in their proper ontological context. At the center of his framework is a distinction between reality as it is and perspective, the viewpoint from which reality is interpreted. Perspectives differ. Reality does not. The key premise is precise. Reality manifests all forms and viewpoints, without endorsing any single one. To take a side would be to become partial. Partiality implies limitation. Reality, understood as totality, cannot be limited to one position without ceasing to be total. Modern discourse often assumes that truth must defeat its opposite. Ibn Arabi treats opposition as perspectival, not ontological. Conflict arises from viewpoints, not from reality itself. The first core teaching follows directly from this framework. Division arises from viewpoint, not from being. Sides exist within reality, not against it. A simple illustration clarifies this. A landscape appears differently depending on where one stands. From one angle it looks steep, from another flat. From one position it seems welcoming, from another threatening. Yet the landscape itself has not chosen a side. The differences arise from perspective. Cognitive science supports this through perspective-dependent perception. The same information produces different conclusions depending on the frame applied. A common misunderstanding must be addressed here. Reality's neutrality does not imply indifference to suffering or injustice. It means that reality contains opposites without belonging exclusively to either. Ethical responsibility remains human. Ontological neutrality does not cancel moral action. The insight is fundamental. Reality holds opposites without becoming one of them. The second teaching addresses a deeper issue. Why does reality allow contradiction? Ibn Arabi distinguishes between logical contradiction, which occurs within reasoning, and ontological inclusion, which occurs within being. Reality accommodates opposing manifestations. Simultaneously, an event may benefit one person while harming another. The same process may be constructive in one context and destructive in another. Reality does not resolve these tensions, it sustains them. Psychologically, this capacity parallels cognitive flexibility. Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex allows integration of competing information, preventing rigid binary reactions. Everyday experience confirms this. A single decision can produce success for one group and loss for another. Reality does not intervene to choose which outcome is correct. It allows the contradiction to exist. The insight is clear. Reality does not eliminate contradictions, it contains them. The third teaching clarifies the role of judgment. Evaluation is not a function of reality. It is a function of human cognition. The brain evolved to assign value for survival. Safe or dangerous, beneficial or harmful. Cognitive science refers to this as valence assignment. Experiences are tagged emotionally to guide behavior. This process is essential for functioning, but it is not a description of reality itself. Ibn Arabi's clarification is subtle but decisive. Reality manifests. Humans judge. Confusing these two levels leads to absolutism, where personal evaluations are mistaken for cosmic facts. This does not deny moral responsibility. Ethics remain human obligations. What it denies is the projection of judgment onto reality itself. When judgment is mistaken for ontology, conflict intensifies. The insight is precise. Reality functions. Meaning is interpreted. Ibn Arabi extends this framework to theology with consistency. Divine reality, in his view, manifests all names and attributes, not one side alone. Mercy and rigor, expansion and contraction, generosity and restraint, all appear within the same reality. Divine justice, therefore, does not operate as partisan favoritism. A modern parallel clarifies this. Natural laws function identically for all, regardless of belief or identity. Gravity does not reward one worldview over another. Psychologically, expecting reality to validate one's identity produces frustration. When outcomes do not align with moral certainty, disillusionment follows. The insight is challenging but stabilizing. Reality gives existence, not validation. Meaning is not endorsement. If reality does not take sides, why do humans feel compelled to do so? The answer lies in orientation. Sides provide cognitive closure. They reduce uncertainty by simplifying complexity into manageable categories. Ibn Arabi acknowledges this need. Sides are not illusions, they are tools. They help humans navigate, decide, and act. The problem arises when tools are mistaken for truths. A crucial misconception must be corrected. Transcending sides. does not mean moral passivity or indecision. It means recognizing the provisional nature of perspectives. Wisdom increases with tolerance for ambiguity, the ability to act decisively without believing that reality itself is partisan marks intellectual maturity. This framework has direct practical relevance. The first step is distinguishing perception from ontology. Beliefs, values, and judgments are recognized as human perspectives, not cosmic mandates. Psychologically, this involves reducing identity fusion with beliefs. When disagreement is not experienced as existential threat, emotional reactivity decreases. Neuroscience shows improved regulation when the prefrontal cortex integrates emotional responses rather than suppressing them. This allows engagement without hostility. Conviction can exist without absolutism. Action can occur without demonization. Ibn Arabi's practical outcome is precise. One can take responsibility without demanding that reality endorse one's side. Engagement remains strong. Polarization weakens. The central conclusion is clear. Reality does not take sides, because sides arise within it. What contains all positions cannot be one of them. Ibn Arabi's lasting contribution is a metaphysics that dissolves polarization without denying responsibility. Ethical action remains necessary. Judgment remains human, but reality itself remains larger than any position taken within it. Humans choose sides. Reality continues.